let's say you're in the market for a small two-door, two-seat roadster, but you've decided you don't want a Mazda Miata because it's a bit played out, it's hard to find one that's still clean, and they don't have enough power. And so you go and try and look for a Honda S2000, but then you realize you can't afford it because, like every other Japanese sports car from the late 90s and early 2000s, it's becoming overpriced. General Motors might have the answer for you in the form of the Pontiac Solstice GXP.
The Pontiac Solstice was General Motors' foray into the compact roadster market, a very dangerous move when considering the domination by the Mazda Miata or MX-5 outside of the States and competition from the legendary Honda S2000. Sporting a unique platform that was dubbed the Kappa platform, the Solstice used front and rear independent suspension and was offered in two flavors, the first of which is the mild base model, with a naturally aspirated all-aluminum double overhead cam inline 4 dubbed the Ecotech. It displaced 2.4 liters and in the Solstice produced 177 horsepower and 166 foot-pounds of torque. Other notable features included 4 valves per cylinder and forged connecting rods, while the use of oil jets lubricated and cooled the bottom of the pistons. With a curb weight just shy of 3,000 pounds, specifically 2,859 pounds in the base model, it seems then like the groundwork was laid down for a performance application. And sure enough, there was one in the form of the extra spicy GXP variant. The GXP utilizes a slightly smaller displacement turbocharged variant of the Ecotech, coming in at 2 liters of displacement as opposed to 2.4. General Motors employed the use of a forged steel crankshaft in conjunction with the forged connecting rods. The cylinder block bulkheads and the cylinder walls took a trip to Powerhouse and beefed up in order to handle the extra power. Variable valve timing was used, and finally, an intercooled twin-scroll turbocharger was added, pushing out 20 psi of boost. The end result increased power from 177 horsepower to a whopping 260 horsepower, and torque was matched from 166 foot-pounds to 260 foot-pounds. If the base model Solstice is like Hayden Christensen's portrayal of Anakin Skywalker in the prequels, decent but in need of some direction and energy, then the GXP is like Carrie Fisher's portrayal of Leia Organa in the original trilogy, full of energy, character, and wit. But you see, this Solstice is special because the owner decided that 260 horsepower was a bit too mild for his tastes, and with his modifications, this car is producing habanero levels of heat, pushing out 420 horsepower. Now, before we get to the interview, it's worth noting that the Solstice has a couple of clones in the form of the Saturn Sky, the Opel GT, and the Daewoo G2X. We'll briefly discuss those cars a bit later. Finally, the Solstice, despite its name, had a very brief period of sunlight with a 4-year production run from 2005 to 2009, after which the entire Pontiac brand was unfortunately shut down due to the financial crisis. But enough from me, let's hear from the owner of the car.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with my friend Sammy. How's it going, Sammy?
It's going great.
Going great?
I ain't gonna smell it if that's what you want.
It's alright.
Great? You gonna leave me hanging? Nah, so I don't really see too many of these cars, like not at all. I guess the first question I have is like, did you always run a Solstice, or did it kind of just fall into your lap, or?
I had a Solstice non-turbo before this one, and I fell in love with the way it drove and the price point, and it didn't have a lot of power in my old one, but it was just fun to drive.
Okay. So just fun to drive. Like, what aspects of the handling do you like?
It's pretty tight around the corners, especially now after I have some mods done to it. Even just the stock suspension is pretty plenty.
Okay. So like with this one, obviously, you just said you've got mods in it. Why don't we talk about those mods for a minute? Because I think from the factory, this is what, like 280, 290 horsepower or something like that?
I think it's 260, 270.
That's 260 or 270. Okay. So what sort of modifications have you made on the car?
Well, the power equipment I've upgraded to a stage 3 turbocharger, monster intercooler. What else did I do to have a monster 3-inch Griffin radiator.
Okay.
Coolant bypass hose, and that's basically it for the power upgrades and the cold air intake and
Okay.
the charge piping. I upgraded all that.
Okay. So kind of like in total, how much more power do you get out of it now, as opposed to you were saying 260?
It's pushing close to 420 like.
420 in a car with this small of wheelbase, and it's just under 3,000 pounds. You were saying like 2950, something like that.
Yeah,
29.95. So if we do the math, in theory, it should be about as fast as a C7 Stinger. I gotta say, I absolutely appreciate it when the cars are kind of like sleepers, because you don't know until you turn it on, do you? And then you're idling at the light, and then the guy next to you is like, oh crap. Because he knows he's about to lose, right? About how long have you had this car?
About 3 years now.
About 3 years. Do you plan on doing any more mods to it, or?
Yeah, I'm going to put throttle body spacer, intake spacer, and I'm going to change the head out to a ported head next year. And that'll give me another 30 to 60 horsepower bump, have it retuned, call it a day after that.
So after that, it's done. It's
After
just going
that,
to be left
it's
the
done.
way it is.
Left the way it is, call it a day.
Okay, so you wouldn't be doing any more engine, what about any like brake work or suspension, or?
The suspension work I've already had done, 1.5-inch drop H&R springs, listing, shocks, which is basically OEM for this car.
Okay.
Just to retain a little bit of comfort.
That's fair.
And future suspension mod's going to be larger sway bars, and there's a brace in the back that I can get. To stabilize it more. And right now it has a DDM Works inner frame brace, the tunnel brace, 1/2-inch with that, and a backbone. It also has a rear brace. You can't put it in, it's placed in between the diff, connecting one side to the other.
Okay, so that greatly improves it.
Yes.
Okay.
Night and day.
If there was one thing you would say you don't like about this car, what would it be?
Well, when I bought it, it needed a lot of work. It needed a full suspension. All the shocks and struts were completely trashed. It needed new brakes. Even now, it needs an intermediate steering shaft that I'm going to replace. I'll back down soon.
Okay.
But the only one thing is just I don't like about this car would be just not enough sunny days for driving.
That's fair. Good old Michigan weather, as you can see, cloudy.
Yeah.
But the final thing I'm going to ask you is, if someone was looking to get a Solstice GXP, about what should they look at paying, and what are the things that they should look out for when buying one?
Well, for 2008, at least a few years ago, they were going for, I paid for this $8,000, which I bought it in October, which was, they were trying to get rid of the car because the season wasn't right for this kind of car, and they basically gave it to me. They bought all of the suspension parts, all the brake parts, everything that it basically needed, that I told them that it needed, because the other one that I had the same issues. They all had the same 50,000 miles, 60,000 miles, needs new shocks and struts.
Okay, so that's just kind of like an issue with these cars, then?
Yes.
If you're listening, General Motors, shame on you.
Yes.
But yeah, man. All right, sounds good. Let's get to driving.
Yep.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
The styling on the Solstice is something that I think Pontiac nailed, especially when considering that most Pontiacs from this era were quite dull and uninspired. The Solstice taps into Pontiac's performance heritage. It has all of the right proportions. The low-slung, wide stance, elongated hood, and short rear all elevate the GXP's performance status. It looks like a proper sports car. I also quite enjoy how simple and smooth the design is. Remember when I said I'd bring up the other 3 clones of this car? Let's compare the styling of the Solstice to the Saturn Sky. I never liked the look of the Saturn Sky, and the Opel and Daewoo unfortunately suffer from having to use the same body panels. I don't like the obsessive chrome nor the ruined lines. It simply doesn't work. If the Solstice is Cinderella, then the Saturn, Opel, and Daewoo are the ugly stepsisters. The Solstice is elegant and confident in its own skin, while the Saturn trio have too many gaudy adornments to try and make them look more appealing. As always though, styling is subjective, so let me know what you think down in the comments below. As per usual, it's time to get behind the wheel. No, it is recording. Alright, now it's my turn to drive.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, doing those pulls there. And I still like, Alright, so first thing I noticed, there's like nowhere to put anything. There's like this cubby here though, right?
Yep, go for the cubby. There you go.
That's just typical roadster stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that one pass you did,
Yeah.
and then there was the guy in the Chevy Traverse, just like
funny.
drove by us, stupid big giddy smile on his face, just shaking his head. So he was getting a kick out of it.
Good. I'm glad someone is.
But yeah. Here's something. Oh, that's a bike. Nice, Harley Davidson. But anyways, start her up.
Yep.
Okay, this is a little loud. Not terribly loud though. Get a feel for the clutch real quick. Okay, that's not bad. It's actually not as springy as when Dan used to have the what do you call it, Focus ST before he got the Bronco.
Yeah.
That clutch, that was an interesting clutch, very spring actuated, if you will. Kind of felt like an on-off switch, kind of pop up when you get towards the grab point.
Oh, you should try to drive the RS one. It's either stall out or you're going in a straight line. It's not too horrible, but
okay. Everybody's watching like, oh, you're gonna stop shifting gears and just go. No, I gotta get used to it first, guys. Like, I do this with every vehicle, it's just, sometimes it's not on camera.
yeah, sometimes I get lost with like third and fifth because they're so close together.
Very good, actually. I do like, this is a short shifter you got here, right?
Yeah.
What kit are you using?
Just the DDM Works kit.
Okay.
Half the parts on the car are for DDM Works.
Okay. I was gonna say, it feels excellent. Very snappy throws, but we'll get out here. Tires should be warm. Yep. Okay. So if we're just gonna. Okay, so turbo hits right around 4.5.
That was third.
Yeah, that was a third. That was a third. Cool, not bad. I do hear a bit of a crunching. What's going on there?
Too fast. We shift.
Okay, so I gotta be slower, is it?
Yeah.
Alright. Is that just because the sync bro's not used to
Yeah, the synchro's just not used to it.
yeah, no, this feels great. I wish I had some more back roads, give it some gas, but
Yeah, I couldn't get out of third gear doing any of those passes.
I gotta get used to those rev matches. So it feels like when you're going to rev match, the throttle isn't as responsive as I was expecting, I guess. But I think that might be because I'm lower in the rev range, so we're just kind of cruising now to this traffic.
Yeah.
About like 2,100 RPMs, we'll say. But it doesn't feel like the boost really kicks in until about 4.5 is when it really wakes up.
Yeah.
So hopefully I can get some more space. Rear view visibility is terrible.
Well, with the top down though, it becomes enjoyable.
Okay. No, I imagine be like my buddy's Miata, the roof up, absolute garbage visibility. But you take the top down, and it's like I can see everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so I gotta do this to look in the mirrors. That's how tiny they are. Like the mirror is literally about as big as the palm of my hand, guys. So we're gonna floor it, get on the gas. Yeah! Yeah! Definitely quick. You think we can take that Z06? This is 6, I don't know. Definitely down low. It's almost like this, with the tune that you have on it, it's got like a Jekyll and Hyde personality, right? So it's like when you're driving down low before 4,000 RPMs, that's your
That's your fuel economy. You get all your cool little exhaust verbals and stuff here and there, but to really dig into it, you got to get above 4K RPMs.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised though at how easy it is to just drive and cruise around town. Because you were telling me like the specs, all the power output it's making, and then you were telling me about the tune, and it's making like over 400 horsepower. And I was expecting it to be a monster because of how light the car is. You were saying about like 29.95 or something like that.
Yeah.
And no, it's pretty docile actually. Very surprising. Do you actually, out of curiosity, plan on tracking this car or no?
Probably not.
All right, ready? I'm gonna do another pull here. Yeah! Going to like fifth there. And yeah, now we're just casually cruising.
I bounced it off a few times for you.
Oh yeah?
When I was doing the pulls.
We'll see it, we'll get all those pops and bangs when we look at the exhaust clip, but
okay.
What's your favorite part about kind of driving around in this car? I imagine that there would be kind of like a lot of, how do I put it? Like a sense of like, yeah, I built this car. Do you feel like any pride at all towards it? Oh, it's a nice ZL1. There he goes.
I just like the car for what it is.
Okay.
You know, top down, sunny out.
Okay.
It's fairly wicked quick.
Fairly quick. It's very quick. What are you talking about?
Probably more modest than I would ought to be. Like I said, that's only one gear. That I have two other full gears that I can't use.
Right.
In those cases.
So it's a second gear pull. I love the sound of the blow off.
Yeah.
Blow off though.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
You would think, like, you look on it from the outside, on the exterior, there's not really much to indicate how much power this car is actually making. It almost makes it a sleeper. Because it's like, you look at, even if you look at your brakes, they're fairly stock, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, you got some wheels on it, you got some paint, you got some graphics. That's about it on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really tell until you start the car up.
Yeah.
And then you start hearing the exhaust, and you're like, okay, there might be something up going on. There might be something up with this car here.
Yeah.
So I do like the fact that it's a bit of a sleeper. But I'd be curious with such a short wheelbase and such a strong surge of power once you get to the mid-range, how well balanced the car would stay. Well, there's Officer. What's good, my guy? Use like a green screen and put up like the stars in GTA 5.
Yeah. Does it feel like 420 horse or less?
I mean, okay, here's the thing. It definitely feels like it. So, a couple of years ago, Dan, my brother, and I went to a Ford dealer, and we test drove a 5.0 GT California Special. We were pushing out about 435 crank horsepower, and this feels quicker. So most definitely, it feels like you've got the power there.
Okay, good.
Now, of course, that's also going to be down to like power to weight and everything. Mustang is, well, compared to this, it's a very heavy car. As much as I love the Mustang, it is a beefy car.
Yeah. And that was, what, a couple years ago?
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago.
5-liter convertible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Stick or auto?
They wouldn't let us test drive the manual one. And we're like, but we daily drive stick shifts. And the lady was like, yeah, well, everybody says that everyone thinks they can drive stick. And all of us standing there that knew how to drive stick were just kind of like,
That's
okay.
And as I said, next year I'd like to do put in a ported head with
Okay.
bigger valves and better springs, and that'll give me another 30 to 60 horsepower. And
Dang.
after that, I'll have it tuned at the same place I had it tuned before, and call it a day after that, so we don't blow it up.
So what you're saying is you want to take a car that was relatively quick from the factory, that you made fast, and you're going to make it even faster.
So, the driving experience. I've always liked custom cars that are tuned to the driver's personal taste. But let's start with the basics. The suspension and steering setup is factory according to Sammy, and to that notion, the ride of the Solstice is surprisingly on the soft side. It means you can get in the car and actually enjoy the drive through Michigan's failure of a road system. The car is quick to respond to steering inputs, but it's not as fast as some other cars that I've driven, such as the NB MX-5. It's quite a low and wide car that doesn't seem to be disturbed when challenged by road imperfections. And this gets interesting, because the meat of the build is really under the hood. With the turbocharger that has been installed, the Solstice exhibits a phenomenon that I like to call retro turbo lag. Let me explain. When you put your foot down, nothing happens. The revs build normally like the average family sedan until you reach roughly 3,500 RPMs, at which point the engine whispers that you should probably start to hold on, and once you've reached 4,000 RPMs, it becomes balls to the wall power, immediately slamming you into the seat against your will. This surge in power, I imagine, is what Commander Shepard and the crew of the Normandy feel every time they get launched into faster than light travel utilizing the mass relays. It's astonishingly quick, because not only is it making 420 horsepower, but remember, this car weighs less than a Ford Focus ST. And thanks to those Firehawk Indy 500 tires that Sammy himself installed on the car, it handles the surge in power exceptionally well. What Sammy has done then is taken a mild sports car and turned it into an excellent GT car. So if you're going to buy a Solstice, what should you watch for? Well, for one, Sammy stated earlier that roughly every 50 to 60,000 miles, it's recommended that the shocks and struts be replaced. It also seems that the water pump is a weakness on these cars, and something that people have to check often, as well as the seals on the rear differential deciding to go on vacation, leaving you with some leaks. So do a thorough inspection to make sure the car is dry before you pick one up. What can you expect to pay for a Solstice GXP? Well, for one, the prices have gone up. It will be a challenge trying to find one under 10k, and for a GXP you probably should expect anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000. The Solstice itself is quite a rare car, and if you happen to find a Targa version of the GXP, the rarest of the bunch, well, unfortunately, expect the prices to start roughly between $35,000 and $40,000. As much as it sucks, this is the world that we live in, and it's a shame that a lot of these cars will start filling up the garages of collectors only to never see the open road again. Especially because, as Sammy has demonstrated here, these are excellent platforms for tuning, whether it be modifying the stock engine or dropping in an LS. But if you have one, or can get your hands on one for a good price, do yourself a favor, take it out on the road and drive it. What's going on, y'all? As per usual, thanks for watching. I appreciate you putting the time in. If you like the video, leave a like, comment, or subscribe if you feel so inclined to. If you don't, I apologize, my sister's dog barking in the background, but if you don't, then leave a dislike, tell me what you don't like about it. Sammy, my man, thanks for letting me film and review your car. As per usual, you know, I hope we can do some more projects in the future. I hope you're having a good one, my guy. But yeah, not gonna lie, It's been a bit stressful the past few months. Honestly, I'm just thankful to God for the friends that I have. And I'm just thankful that I have friends that care about my well-being and stuff like that. So, you all know who you are. Good looking out. But yeah. I'll go ahead and show you all the preview of the next car. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
Makeup stained sheets and tear-soaked cheeks, desperate for the dawn to bring back dignity. Time and time again I relapse, but love has never left me. Perhaps I should have found a way to pay it back. But if I get, will you take? Only take enough to swallow the pain. Drown the pain until it all wash away. From the night to the day you dream of. You forgive my mistake. It becomes another habit to break. I'll replay it till the guilt turns to shame. From the night to the day you dream of. Who needs a heart that tears apart?
But we're about to find out if this actually sounds good.
You edit it?
Huh?
You edit you go back and edit the...
I go back and edit stuff. Sometimes I'll reuse like stuff like this at the end of the video. It's introduction. What year is this car?
2008.
2008 Pontiac Solstice GXP, but it's not an ordinary GXP because it'll smoke your daddy's Corvette. So tell him to get his New Balance sneakers ready.
That's perfect.
That's really an interesting color. I didn't know it was red.